In The Singularity of Literature, Derek Attridge gives us a brilliant and engaging reflection on how to think about literature in terms of the singularity of its event, an event which happens as a complex relating between the work and its reading or interpretation. In this book, the author discusses what makes literature unique and what separates it from other art forms and what separates it from other forms of writing as well. The aim of Attridge's research is to understand what gives literature and the experience of reading and interpreting it its literariness or literary character, a certain character. Additionally, the title indicates the parameters for Attridge's concept of literary works as always singular events that occur during their reading. Attridge argues that the literary work is characterized by a verbal happening. In order to understand literature properly, the text and its readers need to be understood as an event involving a complex and creative cultural, historical, and temporal relationship. Originality, invention, event, and singularity are among the most important parameters of this relationship. Attridge defines originality as a creation that possesses exemplary originality as defined by Immanuel Kant, namely, originality that changes the rules of art and literature, thus creating new patterns for future artists and giving readers a sense of discovery and technological advancement. It is Attridge's intention to establish exemplary originality as a means of distinguishing between works that are original in exemplary, rule changing, or rule inventing ways, works that are original without being exemplary, and works which do not achieve either originality or exemplarity. In this sense, originality also needs to be inventive, meaning that its effects can extend beyond the created work if they are appropriately adapted by culture. Ingenuity, however, is not a permanent property of the created object, but rather changes with time and is assigned retrospectively. According to Attridge, artistic inventiveness differs from other types of invention in that it is never simply a matter of the past but repeats its inventive force and is always inventive in the present. That is, it is reinventive now. In Attridge's view, one of the characteristics of a work of art is its ability to retain inventiveness through time while simultaneously regenerating the otherness repeatedly, which it brings into culture as a result of its inventiveness. The characteristic force and specificity of a work of art are determined by its ability to renew its alterity. Literature is distinguished from other disciplines by its ability to invent alterity as a result of the workings of language, its inventiveness, and its specifics of textuality. This type of invention enables works of literature to become literary events, which take place as acts and enactments of reading, where the reader's relationship with the text is intended to bring out the original and inventive power of the work. Similarly, reading literature is creative and inventive. While it obviously does not create the work of art, it provides a means of recreating its inventive force and the otherness that is embodied by the work. As a result, reading is a performance which each time dislocates the reader and reveals the historical cultural context in which it takes place. Readers and their reading experiences are viewed by Attridge not as individuals or subjects, but rather as the embodiment of widespread cultural norms and behaviors with an individual. Similarly, form and meaning cannot be separated, nor can they be fixed or stable at any time. Instead, they are intrinsically temporal as they come to be enacted in an act of reading, and their continuity derives, paradoxically, from their repeated opening within the changing context of reading into new questions. By reopening and keeping alive the interaction of form and meaning in a literary text, reading literature becomes inventive precisely because it raises new questions. The central idea is that the literary work constitutes an event of singularity insofar as it is only in the act of its reading. Singularity here, strictly speaking, is the singularization that occurs as the literary text is read. Literary signatures serve to distinguish literary works and make them literary works. Literary language claims readers with a complex force, prompting them to reinvent and reenact the singularity of the work. During this process, the reader is both passive, claimed by the force of the literary, and active, reinventing this force within and as the act of reading. This passive active complex of relations, constitutive of literary work's existence, is enacted each time as a singular event. Literary works possess a certain degree of flexibility that makes them constitutively open to a variety of readers, and thus to the otherness they bring to the artwork with their diverse and evolving idiocultures. Attridge sees the invention of otherness as the key element of literary art, but it is also subject to otherness and its own reinvention. By instilling an ethical commitment to alterity and to the other into the literary language, the otherness of the literary language makes a claim on the reader. Attridge proposes the ethics of literature as a way of responding responsibly to artworks by affirming and recreating the inventiveness of the work as a singular other, thus giving force to the claims made by this inventiveness on culture, as well as affirming and recreating its inventiveness. The ethical challenge and claim of a literary work is thus interconnected with the experience of pleasure, which is neither simply aesthetic nor ethical, but rather is connected to the dynamic of encountering an artwork.